Okay, everybody, this is Ricky here. I attempted to do a live stream last night on Facebook on my PC, and I tried to make a highlight in it, and it just canceled out the entire recording of the first half, which made me really mad. And then I attempted to do it the second time, and it was recording fine. Then it just had a bug or whatever. So Facebook Live really does just suck for live streaming for PC. It's great for your phone, not so great for PC. So I'm going to be recording this on my streaming setup and then uploading it afterwards. I'm going to be doing two parts on this, the first half and then the second half. This is the first debate between Trump and Harris, and it very well may be the only debate between Trump and Harris. We will see.
Big battles.
Or responses.
I applied to over 200 tech jobs, and
the only bad part about this is I got to deal with the ads.
One of them.
Imagine and have actually. What's up? Good debate. Biden withdrew from the President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to
tonight.
Good evening. Kamala Harris.
I think that's kind of weird how she kind of goes all the way over here instead of meeting in the middle. That's a little odd.
What's up? Good debate.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you.
I will give her credit though. She doesn't look like she's in her 60s. She looks like she's in her early 50s. So I'll give her credit. She's them Asian women, I'm telling you, dude, they age really gracefully.
Both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambitions, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to startup small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump?
Now, I'm going to say this much right now. He asked her a straightforward question. Do you think Americans are better off now than they were 4 years ago? And she completely and utterly avoided that question. She completely went around that question. So that tells me a lot. She talking about implementing certain cuts. She makes it sound like she's not the incumbent. Never in American history have we had a vice president running and the president themselves is not running. If Biden wants her to win, he's going to help implement all these things for her, help her become that. People are going to say, well, she's the vice president, not the president. Yes, but Biden would want her to win because he nominated her. That means anything she wants to try to make the economy better, she's going to make it better. How come these things she's talking about, they're not trying to get it done now? You've never heard her talk about trying to get none of these, do this at all. She's talking about, it's just funny, she tried to talk about her a bit about her life, but the fact of the matter is, like I said, she was asked the question, do you think Americans are better now than they were 4 years ago, and she completely and utterly avoided the question. Hopefully Trump can catch her on this here. Like I said, that's an easy layup right there off the bat. That's the easy layup to catch her in shenanigans.
I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs.
Now, I don't like how he makes it sound like every one of them coming in this country illegally is from jails and insane asylums. No, probably do have a large number of illegal immigrants coming in this country from other countries or from jails, because I've heard how the crime has been going down in these countries, and it seems like a lot of their criminals are coming here, whether by choice or by force, they're coming here. But he's not wrong about a lot of illegals taking American jobs, and Americans here are having some issues with it.
Jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings.
Yeah, I heard about in that one town they shipped about 20,000 illegal immigrants into a city of 50,000. So yeah, that's not a good thing, but still.
They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality. And we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let...
I wish and Trump missed that one. Matt missed that one too, because he should have said he didn't bring up how Americans are doing now versus then. He's bringing up the illegal immigrants, which is not bad, but he should have brought up how Americans are. The cost of goods has skyrocketed over the past 4 years. Gas has finally got below $3 finally in North Carolina. So he missed a easy layup right there.
Let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health.
I'm going to say this much right now about that comment she's making. The worst economy, the states that were in the worst shape were Democrat-run cities where they would not allow people to go back to businesses. But a lot of people were not trying to go back because they were getting government-free money. I have never seen so many jobs available and begging for people like I did in 2020 through 2022. Like, those jobs were jobs that had all kind of high requirements. Like, you had to go get certain tests to get these jobs. You had to get a high-level work keys test. I seen a lot of companies throw those out. I seen companies for drivers that before where they said, oh, we're not going to take nobody unless they have pre-experience because we're not going to train new drivers. They started to train drivers. So, yeah, that's not true at all. You had a lot of people not working. And in Democrat states where they were not allowing people to go back to work, but you also had a lot of jobs begging for people, and people were not trying to go back to work. I knew people who was getting like $900 to $1,200 a week off just staying at home, and they were doing it. And they done it for months. Even when they dropped down to $600 a week, people still weren't going back. You seen help wanted signs everywhere, and nobody was trying to take jobs. And that was the easiest time to get really good jobs.
Epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
What attack on our democracy exactly? Like she's saying that, but January 6th, you had a bunch of people rioting, yes, but you notice none of them had guns, none of them had knives, none of them had firearms. And people will say insurrection, but the joke is not one single person that was arrested there has been charged with insurrection. That's the joke. None of them have been charged with insurrection.
And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old...
What we're going to build on. You've been in charge. You sound like you're not the incumbent. Y'all been here for about 4 years now. How are y'all still... You can't make the claim like you're not already up there in charge. Like, no, that's not true. Like, you make it sound like you're not already in office. Like, you...
Tired playbook. A bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling.
I mean, I hate to tell you, Kamala, you're already telling lies now. I think Trump's over-exaggerating a few things, but you're definitely getting caught in lies already.
What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance
I'm not going to comment on that, Dave, because he's about to.
So much more in common than what separates us, and I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that...
She's shaking her head and doing that expression. But the fact of the matter is Trump's already denounced that project, that he has no interest in it because he had nothing to do with it. So, yeah, she knows that's not true. And the fact that she brought that up as a talking point already shows that she's getting caught in a lie again.
They got together, they came...
I might even end up doing a video of all the lies that we catch them both in. That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it?
Came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world.
I remember those ventilators that we were making that we said we couldn't make. I do remember that.
We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created.
Yeah, they bring up how they created jobs, but they didn't create jobs. You had states that had basically destroyed their economy where there was nobody could work, and then you allow people to go back to work. Those are jobs that people are allowed to go back to. It weren't jobs that closed down because they had no business. That was jobs that y'all forced to shut down, and they bounced back.
Created them.
Oh, give me 1 minute. Sorry about that, people.
They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So, Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I don't know why they try to act like these rich people are not the backbone of our economy. All the biggest paying jobs out there are big rich corporations. I'm sorry. You do not see a lot of people running the mom and pop shops and trying to work at them. I'm sorry. You look at every fast food restaurant, every fast food chain out there. It may be classified as a small business because they're individually owned, but they are part of a bigger network chain. You look at Lowe's, grocery stores, Food Lion, Walmart. Like, these are big chain corporations that employ thousands and thousands of people. You look at the factory job, these are big corporations. You give them tax breaks, which allows them to have more money, which allows them to hire more people, which allows them to let people work more. My current job is cutting hours badly, and it's been doing it for about 7 months. People hate it. And it's because money is tight right now. If they got tax breaks, money wouldn't be as tight, and they'd be a little more lucrative for us in our working. But right now, money is tight, orders are low, and, people's trying to cut back on spending. So, yeah, you want to give tax breaks to the rich people because that's where most of the jobs are at. That's how you get jobs in this country, is by giving rich people tax breaks. If it's cheaper to own a corporation in North Carolina than it is in New York, they'll come to North Carolina. If it's cheaper to build in South America, Mexico, China, by a lot than America, they're going to build over there. That's all the big jobs. I'm sorry, but these small businesses, they're nice, but you usually make a lot less money and it's a lot tighter for them. They're not bad if you enjoy the type of work, but it's not exactly very lucrative to work at these places.
Describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse.
What's your plan? Like, you can't just be giving $25,000 for people trying to start small businesses, which she doesn't. Which one thing she doesn't talk about is about around 90% of small businesses fail. Like it's not a high ratio of small businesses making it. I'm sorry, but most of them just fail. You know, just because you got an idea doesn't mean it's going to make a lot of money. And I've seen some small businesses, they last for years and then they go out.
Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication.
The whole point of the tariffs is to try to encourage national growth, to encourage these items to be made in America. We have too many items that are not made in America. You go out there and you look around, almost every item, the vast majority of items you got is not made in America. My PC, my 2 monitors, not made in America. My camera, not made in America. My headset, my microphone, my clothes. I mean, my Lord. Let's see here. I have a HyperTough. Area light, which I use. Well, I use it for camping. I love it. It's a great little item that I've used for camping. If I need it for a light outside. And let's see here. Where are you made? Made? Wait, let's see here. People? Here we go. Made in China. That's where it's made. I'm sorry, but we need these items made in America. And that is the biggest issue in America.
Arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now.
I mean, he's right, though. He made tariffs, and they never got rid of them. You can't try to talk bad about them, but you decided to never get rid of them.
Under their administration, we are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country
I wish he went into more detail about the price, but yeah.
Dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90%
Well, she's not happy.
that
She's
the
just
Trump
shaking that-
economy
she's shaking
was
that
great,
head a lot.
that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up...
She's dancing around it again. She can't answer it. She cannot answer it, and she's dancing around it. Dude, that is so funny. That is, I hope Trump calls her out for this. Call her out for it, Trump. Say, you see how she's dancing around the question? She's not even answering the question. She's saying everything else. She's giving you a word salad on everything else, but she's not answering the question. That's funny. That's funny.
Selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
I mean, Trump was calling him that, and that was him being sarcastic, though. Like, he was being sarcastic when he said, "Thank you, Chief, for this fuck up you gave us." It's called sarcasm, people. You notice he's trying to bring up sarcasm like he doesn't do it and she can. And Trump been calling it the China virus from the get-go. Like, he's been calling it from the Wuhan virus from the get-go. There's no, we don't know where it came from. We were calling it that from the get-go.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips at...
There we go, see? We don't make chips. I don't see no computer chip factory. That's why Taiwan is the #1 chip factory in the world, chip producer in the world. And the fact of the matter is, I don't know why we don't produce our own chips, but apparently Taiwan's little place is doing most of the world's computer chips. That's one of the reasons we're scared of China taking them, because they produce the chips and we don't for some stupid reason.
Anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy, but if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, "I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks." But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an
I hate how he's kind of dancing around that question too. Trump just answered
excellent
outright.
job. But the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby.
He did say that though. That person, that governor did say that.
And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the
here's the thing, though.
genius and heart and strength
Now listen to this, people.
6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe.
Now you hear that? He believes in abortion and rape, incest, and life of the mother. He believes in abortion. And the whole thing about people getting mad about Roe v. Wade is it is no longer a federal controlled issue. It is state. That means the federal government no longer has control of it. The people of the state get to vote for these things at how they want them to be done. So if the people of the state vote for a 15-week ban on abortion, then that's how it goes. The people have to vote for this. Okay? It is now a state issue, which means the people get to decide, not the federal government.
Strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to it.
Okay. When you say no limitations to abortion, that means you can have abortion, you can have an abortion as late term as possible. But that, like I said, it's not legal for them to kill a baby after born. But that governor of that state did say that, though.
President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in
They didn't do nothing about Roe v. Wade except put it back into the power of the states. Put it back in the power of the people. That's all they did. Like state law, states can decide on their own individual laws as long any power that's not directly in control of a state is controlled by the federal government. So Roe v. Wade is no longer controlled by the federal government; it's controlled by individual states. So I wish he'd stop trying to act like he's undermining it when he gave it the power back to the people to decide in their states what they want to do.
over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a...
There is no ban in any states. I'm gonna bring it up right. No. She said that. She said that. People, we're gonna look at this right now. that there? Is abortion legal in your state? Let's have a look, see here. Banned at or close to. Banned at. Look at this here, people. I'm gonna make this bigger. Make this bigger. Banned at or close to conception. Let's see here. What let's see here. Okay. South Carolina. Where's South Carolina at? A judicial law that imposes a near total ban on abortions went into effect on August 1st, 2022. The law carves out narrow exceptions to save a pregnant woman's life or to prevent disabling injuries. In November, Kentucky votes to reject a bailout measure that would have denied abortion rights in the state's constitution. However, the state is currently weighing on the 2019 heartbeat ban from taking effect while challenge procedure proceeds through the courts, allowing pregnancy terminations through 20 weeks gestation. I'd like to see what they say about it. Abortion in South Carolina are banned. Okay, here we go. It's easier. Abortions in South Carolina are banned after 6 weeks, so it's not illegal. It's allowed. Georgia, after 6 weeks. Atlanta, abortion are fully banned with limiting exceptions. Fully banned. Okay, apparently we do have a few states that have it banned. I was mistaken on this one. My apologies, Kamala. You got this one. You got a few banned. They have limited exceptions. States where abortion is banned in all or near all cases. Alabama, abortion has become almost entirely legal in Alabama, with the court's overturning of the Roe v. Wade 2019 abortion ban took effect on June. Ban took effect in June 2020, making it a felony to perform an abortion at any stage of pregnancy, with no exceptions for pregnancies caused by rape or incest. I disagree with that part there. Rape and incest, like I said, Trump says that he's not for it. But like I said, the whole point of it is that the federal government has no say in it. That's state government. That's who the people in these states elected. They elected this man in Alabama, and that's what they voted for. If they don't want it, they need to vote him out, and it can be changed by the next politician. If they choose not to, if the people in Alabama have voted that man in, and they voted to make this legal, then that's how it goes. Like, we can be mad about it, but that's each individual state. But she's right, it's banned a few. Arkansas, hours after the High Court ruling, Attorney General Leslie Rugland signed certificate that Roe had been overturned, allowing the state's trigger ban law to take effect immediately. That law is an outright abortion ban. So they had a law already in place that would go like these places already had this stuff going off, and these states, they wanted to ban abortion, but they couldn't because of Roe v. Wade. But the people in these states voted for these people in. If you want it gone, vote these people out. But the federal government has no say in it. Because a pregnant person's life, or because of rape or incest. Like I said, Idaho's allowed it. Let's see. Trigger law. Like I said, these people already had laws on the books. They just couldn't take effect. What is North Carolina? After 12 weeks. Like I said, most of the states have a ban at a certain period of time. At viability. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Only 9 states allow abortions at any time. So, of the 50 states in America, wait, do we have 50 states? 52? We have 9 states that do not have an abortion ban. Even California has a ban. Oh, that's funny. Okay. My apology, people.
A doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life.
Well, like I said, though, these states already had these laws on the books. Like, they already had these laws, but they couldn't do nothing about them. They're called trigger laws. And as soon as the condition was met for them to be active, they are. And like I said, the people in those states did not vote these politicians out. And they did not vote against the abortion laws.
Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means.
Wait.
A survivor of a crime of violence.
Voting, it's the vote.
Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans. Which
I like how she says Trump abortion bans, like he's got any control of that.
make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest.
You notice he just said, before he talked about he's for it if case of rape, incest, or the danger of the mother's life. He's lying right here because he's trying to say like he's got control of these states, like they're his laws that he put in, which he didn't. But she's contradicting what he already just said.
Which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with...
I'm noticing how they keep trying to say her body, but they're not trying to talk about the baby that they're murdering, because that's what abortion is. Let's call it what it is. It is the murder of a child. So we're going to call it what it actually is. I hear abortion, I'm going to say the murder of a child, because that's what it is. Okay? You can't, it is no longer, I'm sorry, but it is no longer just your body. There is a child, there is a living human being inside of your body. So we cannot act like they do not have rights as well. Because we can damn sure charge somebody for a double murder for killing a pregnant mother. I'll be damned if we won't charge a man for double murder.
Women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care.
If you have a miscarriage, you're going to get treated for a miscarriage. Like, they're not going to deny you a treatment for miscarriage. I don't know where she's getting this bullshit lie from. If you have a miscarriage, they're going to treat you. I don't know where she's blatantly lying with this one.
In an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot.
That's a lie. That's a bold-faced fucking lie. She's having a miscarriage. They're gonna go take you and they're gonna treat you. She's telling a blatant lie, like we're in a third world country.
What?
She's blatantly lying.
She didn't want that.
She's blatantly
The husband
lying.
didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a.
Didn't he just say, in case of rape or incest, which mind you, I'm gonna bring this up. Look. About 95% are results of unintended pregnancies. have a look-see. Reason 2004 among the structure survey respondents, the most common reason were having a baby would dramatically change my life and I can't afford a baby now. Cited 74 and 73% represented table. Look, this is 2004. Unmarried student plan. Look. Unemployed, can't leave a job or take care of baby, would have to find a new place. Not enough support for the husband or partner. Husband party is unemployed, currently temporary welfare. Don't have to be a single mother having a relationship problem. Not sure about relationship partner, and I can't. Let's get down here. Was a victim of rape, 1%. Became pregnant as a result of incest, less than 0.5%. People, you cannot cite the other fucking 90-something% because of a less than, not even 2%. You can't. Look, parents want me to have a abortion. Physical problems with my health. That's 12%. That's good. That's physical health problems. But if you rape and incest, which is their big one, that's not even 2%. That's not even fucking 2%. Look. Let's see if we get a more recent one. See if we get a more recent one. No, not that one. Like I said, dude, I had an earlier one. Let's see here. Come on, people, where's it at? Here we go. Women's reason. Except all cookies. Shut up. Let's see if we get a little chart on this here. I love it when they give a chart. I really need to look this stuff up. Okay, we like I said, they're bringing up abortion for rape and incest when you're talking about like a tiny fraction, which Trump said he's for.
Pregnancy to term? They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to
Well, I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about
He brought
this
that
whole
student
idea.
stuff up. I wish
And
he
how
didn't.
unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government, and we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade, and as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting.
You see how she avoided another question. Do you have any restrictions? That means no. I don't have no restrictions to it. Have abortion whenever you want. That's what she means.
To the women of America. And
she doesn't care if you kill that unborn baby. She don't care when you kill it, because she just said it. By not answering it, you say it. That means first month, fourth month, 8th month, 9th month. Hey, kill that baby, murder that baby.
Now understand what has
She's
been
avoiding
happening
it.
under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray.
Trump doesn't have an abortion ban though. It's not a federal issue. It's not going to be a federal issue. It's a state issue. She keeps trying to say Trump, but that's a state issue. She's avoiding it.
And dream.
It's
of
funny.
having
She's
a family
lying.
Are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our...
Okay, give me a fucking second. This shit's gonna drive me bonkers. IVF treatments. IVF treatments. She's saying that. She's saying that. IVF treatment. The vitro fertilization is one of several techniques available to help people with fertilization problems. During IVF, an egg is removed from the woman's ovaries, fertilized with sperm. Is there a ban? Costa Rica is the only country in the world that has banned the practice of IVF. Is there a restriction? yes, there are some restrictions on in vitro fertilization, IVF, treatments, including body mass index. Many clinics in the United States restrict women with high BMI from accessing IVF. This is because some clinics believe the IVF may be less effective and more medically risky for women with high BMIs, which is body mass index. BMI cutoffs vary by clinic, but are generally between 35 and 45. So they're worried about it being high risk and not very effective for overweight people. Substances to avoid during IVF is that's avoid because that may interfere with success. Research restrictions. The study of human embryos is restricted in the United States, and federal funding for research involving human embryos have been prohibited since. Look, the study of human embryos is restricted in the United States, which means taking out the eggs and studying embryos. So she's lying again. She's blatantly lying.
Our country, working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through.
Wait. You can barely afford your bills, but you're gonna go do an IV. Dude, I'm telling you right now, that is not a cheap procedure. Okay, that is what, $8,000-9,000 for the procedure. That is ridiculously expensive. That is not, if you cannot barely afford your own bills when you're working 2 jobs, you can't afford to fly to another for that treatment even just in your state. I understand. I want children, I do, but I'm barely getting by, so I can't afford it. I said, wait, you're barely getting by? That means you shouldn't get the procedure. Then you can't afford the procedure.
Is unconscionable.
Dude.
And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader.
I don't know if he's been a lead on this one. I'll be honest. I'm not trying to look him up. My video is already longer than it's supposed to be for me stopping. My apologies.
And the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it.
I ain't never heard Trump go against it, though. Like I said, there's no issue with the fertilization. That's all it is.
You should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Fuck no, she ain't going to answer that.
Would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because under Roe v. Wade,
she avoided it again. She avoided it again.
The 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month, and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations.
You see, she's already avoiding the fucking question. She's been in charge of the border. She said she'd never been to it, and she'd never been to Europe. But she's been in charge of the border. But she's avoiding the question. Again,
trafficking of guns,
she's avoiding the question.
And human beings.
Are you ready to take your content to the next level? Going live on TikTok isn't just fun, it's a game changer.
And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported.
This is Trump's biggest fuck up. This is his biggest masterpiece. I remember this part of the debate last night, and I was so mad for Trump. He had the biggest fucking layup for this one here, and he missed it. This is his biggest mess up of the debate.
And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's busing them in.
That was a layup right there. He missed this entire one right here. He missed this one here, sadly.
So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics.
She got hit. She stroked his ego right there. She hurt his ego, and he got
being lost. We're a failing nation, and it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here? You're going to end up in World War III. Just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country.
Okay, so Trump's skipping it. I'm gonna tell you what was in that border bill. They're actually skipping some things in it, which is starting to make me mad. But here's what they had about that. The entire, among other provisions, the bill provided DHS emergency authority to summarize, remove, or prohibit the entry of certain non-U.S. nationals within 100 miles, which, mind you, they can already do. That's a federal thing. The government could snap their finger and not close the border. That is not hard for them to do. If DHS encounters an average of 4,000 non-U.S. nationals within a 7-day period, hold on. DHS may exercise this authority if DHS encounters an average of 4,000 non-U.S. nationals within a 7-day period. If the number of encounters reach certain higher threshold, DHS must exercise the emergency authority. The emergency border authority expires after 3 years. What that means is, if you get over a certain number of people, then you start restricting them. So you're allowing people into the country up to a certain level, and they're like, no more. I said, that's not a border bill. That's not a border bill.
By allowing these millions.
What something else in there was it had a large amount of money that was going to go to Ukraine. Billions of dollars was supposed to go to Ukraine as well in that bill, which is what they like to leave out. Trump missed the easy fucking layup. He missed the easy damn layup.
To come into our country and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating. I really wish
he didn't bring that up. I've heard chatter about them cutting off the heads of ducks, and how they were bleeding out a cat in one. I seen the police report for it in the video where they had the cat hanging up and it was bleeding it out like they do, like you do deer and other animals. I've heard the stories about them going around like catching ducks and geese and cutting the heads off at these ponds and taking them back.
The pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there had been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
television.
television.
But the people
I'm
on
taking it from the
television
city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
I like how they're not correcting
Again,
Trump.
Springfield
They're
City
correcting
manager
Trump.
says
They're not
there's
trying
no
to say
evidence
nothing to
of that.
Harris.
Vice President
We'll find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed, and I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him, so he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me they can write books, with nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy, look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists, they have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far.
It's going that one.
In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president, in history by far.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans may qualify for help from National Debt Relief. Minimum payments could literally keep you in debt for decades. $10,000.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And This will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow, and I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President,
the FBI they were defrauding statements.
I've heard about how if it's in a lot of places, if the crime is less than not $1,000, that they don't report it to the cops. That they will not report it to the cops. Like that's crazy how that's going on in a lot of places. In California.
They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number
I wish he didn't use the word fraud. I wish he would have just explained
it. They created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted.
Oh, so you're gonna bring this up now?
National security crimes, economic crimes.
You know, they don't say nothing about all the files that Biden found that were in his garage in different locations for stuff he shouldn't have had. You notice that they're not trying to prosecute Biden for none of that, but they're saying Trump was, at his home when he was president, he was legally able to declassify some of those things. That's funny.
Election interference has been found liable.
They say election interference, but they can't show nothing.
For sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal...
Sexual assault. You know that woman was trying to get him for rape. They couldn't get him for rape. They couldn't prove nothing, but they said he had sexual misconduct. That's what they got. That's what they said they're going to charge you for. But you can't prove rape or nothing like that happened, but you're saying he had sexual misconduct with that person. Wait. So you can't prove rape at all, so no. But we're going to get him for sexual misconduct. So it's her word versus his word. There's no evidence of rape or nothing, but we're going to say sexual misconduct. And just so y'all know, sexual misconduct will be something like you smack somebody on the ass or something. You grab their ass. But you can't prove nothing at all, but we're going to get you for that because it's not a big enough crime. That's funny.
Sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small business.
Like, giving people more money is not gonna do anything about this here. Like, I'm sorry, but there's never going to be enough homes for everybody in this country. And the issue is you want to give people money to buy homes, which is going to cause the price of these homes to go up more. Like, I'm sorry, but, we need to try to encourage people to buy land, to try to build on their home, build on land, instead of buying these pre-existing homes. Buy land, purchase land, that's what we need to do.
Businesses. Address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, you've been in charge for almost 4 years. How are y'all not bringing it down? Whatever. American people are exhausted.
You would think she wasn't the incumbent, that they're already in charge. You would think that they were not, but she is. She's vice president second in command of the country. You're in charge, and you talk about stuff as if you're not in charge, as if Trump's in charge. That's funny.
With this same old tired playbook,
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune.
She's avoiding the question again.
Misconduct if he
Again, she's avoiding the question.
Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department.
He said that the first day. He said the first day I'll do it for a day, and he's doing it as a joke, but he can't make jokes. Whatever.
Of justice against his
That was a
political
joke. You
enemy.
know it was a joke.
Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we.
All presidents are like that. They can't. A president can't do his job if he's got to worry about getting in trouble. Like he won't be able to do his job. Period.
No, now the court won't stop him.
That means Biden has nobody, like, they're not doing
It's
nothing
up
to
to the
Biden.
American people.
They won't do nothing to Harris if she becomes president.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last.
Okay, we're going to stop here at the 42 minutes and 47 mark. And I'll try to continue later, people. Thank you.